Whimsical, enchanting, beguiling, magical. Fall asleep with 4 hours of continuous sleep stories that celebrate nurturing feminine energy and healing as you take a mental journey through time and space to encounter loving witches and nurturing fairies. These 6 stories will open your heart and spark the powers of your imagination to soothe and to dream as you find respite in a cozy cottage. Words have the power to cast spells. On the blank canvas of your mind, you may paint the story of your life with the words of your choice. And out of the ether, letter by letter come together in the art of spelling and creation as we try to make sense of the world that we describe around us. Spelling comes from the word spellum, which once meant story or fable. The term spell evolved over centuries, as words often do, and the Middle Ages added charm and sorcery to its meaning. Suddenly a spell was more than mere language. May you be as selective with your words that become thoughts, and cast a healing spell that will lead you to the outcomes you most desire. As you prepare for rest and the mystical stories to come, spell these words across your closed eyes and see how they make you feel. Let the curves of each consonant and vowel sparkle like the end of a magical wand. These are the words that may dance in your mind as you drift along the path to sleep. Hope, peace, promise, light, dream, imagine. And with that, it's time for the Enchanted Cottage stories to begin. The Witch's Cottage. Time travel to another century as you explore an enchanted forest that leads to a cottage of good witches, sought after for their timeless healing spells. The 3 witches greet you with supernatural insights and white magic. As their special guest, you spend the night in a quiet alcove of their woodland home, where you enjoy insightful and vivid dreams of the days to come. It's time to dream away. I'd like to welcome you to Michelle's Sanctuary. I am Michelle, and as you delve into this beguiling escape, you may think of my voice as that of a sleep fairy and dear old friend. Wiggle out any tension before getting cozy. Focus on the darkness created by your closed eyes, like shutters on the windows of a home. You go deeper within as you take in a big breath, so deep you may yawn and feel as if you could float away into the night. And then you sigh it all out. Make a sound as you let go of the day, sinking down. And inhale again as a sensation of floating returns, and you find you are levitating above your bed. As you exhale, the coverings on your window are carried on a breeze. As your window opens, you begin to drift outside your window, up and up towards the starry night's sky. You are soaring above your home and town, as if swimming through the crisp night air. The dimness of the landscape below is illuminated by the sliver of a crescent moon. You look to the moon as it gets closer and closer, feeling a smile form on your face, mimicking the curves of the silver lunar beauty. You hear a whisper and look to see there is an enchantress carelessly lounging within the half circle of the moon. She is otherworldly, with a pearly glow and a dress that cascades around her body like the waves of an incoming tide. Her long silvery hair flows down her back, and she points to you before curling her index finger in a come-hither motion. As you get closer, she says your name and asks, "Are you ready for an adventure?" You feel a safe sense of trust as you see her kind, twinkling eyes and nod. Floating so close you could almost touch the moon, she reaches out and touches your shoulder, whispering, "This night is all for you." As she touches you, your body begins to shimmer, and you tingle from head to toe in a sensation of warmth. Your form changes while you drift back towards the earth like stardust. You are floating on a crisp breeze through another dimension in time and space. The cells of your body have dispersed into a swarm of glowing sparkles raining down from a night sky. Twinkling like a swarm of fireflies, you softly fall through the lush autumn-hued leaves of a dark enchanted forest. All of you comes back together in human form as your feet land on the purple-black floor of an enchanted forest. You balance on the damp, rich earth that smells of wet tobacco and sweet, decaying leaves. Adorned in tightly laced boots and a tailored wool coat cinched at the waist. The wool of the coat rides on the soft winds like a parachute. The gnarled trunks and branches of the tree come to life, beckoning you to enter the depths of the forest. A torch magically appears in your hand, and you feel the smooth, sanded wooden handle, and watch as the flame flickers and brightens the pathway in an orange marmalade glow. You hear the trees whispering to you. Follow the path to the heart of the woods. The branches of a tree dance on the night's air as it whispers, "You are right where you belong." The crescent moon, now barely visible beneath the lush canopy of leaves in peak fall colors, is high in the sky. You can still feel the encouraging warmth of the enchantress in the moon as you carry on down the path. A soft mist, like a lavender veil, wafts through the animated trees just above the forest floor. The soft pastel hue conjures feelings of inspiration, wisdom, and magic. And as you walk alone, you reflect on the healing you seek from the revered witches. Your body melts in the surrender that comes from a long walk in a new environment, and you feel flexible and bendy. Every place of tension in your body is now free. You feel better physically and mentally and emotionally than you have ever felt before, or at least in a very long time. In the near distance, fairies illuminate the darkness like a rainbow of Chinese lanterns. As you get closer, you hear them laughing and singing quietly. It lures you in until they take notice, greeting you as if they have been waiting for your arrival. The fairies fly around you until you are in a circle of their vibrant illumination. You feel the gentle winds created by their transparent kaleidoscope wings that light up around you. The wise leader of the fairies flies towards the tip of your nose, and you look into her emerald green eyes. Telepathically, she sends you the thought that you will find healing tonight. Many blissful things are to come if you let your heart believe. She then flies towards your chest and presses her tiny palm against your heart center. A vibrant green light emanates from her small hand, growing in size as it connects to you. You instantly feel sensations of love and an openness to receiving. Your shoulder blades draw together as if they were to kiss, and your heart feels full. She tells you that you are now able to receive the gifts of the enchanted forest. A beautiful red fox cuts through the fog, beckoned by the circle of fairies. The lead fairy explains that the fox will lead you to the witch's cottage. You thank her and the rest of the fairies as their nocturnal song plays on in your head like a soothing salve. Their music is like a cool bucket of water poured over the sparks of your thoughts that now come to a silence in a feeling of deep gratitude. The fox is agile, and you walk behind him, intoxicated by the internal enlightenment that makes you feel light and carefree. With each step, you feel your feet hovering above the forest's floor before landing again on the earth's damp softness. You focus on his bushy copper tail and its white underside that acts like a reflector of light, helping to guide the way. The slithering dark path comes to a clearing where pumpkins grow on thick green vines. Close to the ground, they come to life as the fox approaches them. Like a Broadway marquee, the pumpkins are illuminated by handwritten words that light up the forest. You take in their messages as you walk by. Hope, peace, joy, believe, love, destiny, magic. You feel the power of these illuminated words, and you stay in stride with the weaving fox to continue on. You smell an exotic aroma that wafts on a trail of smoke and smells of burning wood, cinnamon, cloves, and something tangy that you cannot identify. The fox comes to a babbling brook with dark metallic violet waters that sparkle from silver bubbles and bioluminescence. A footbridge magically appears out of the mist, and the fox guides you across it before the bridge mysteriously evaporates. Then you see it, the cottage belonging to the witches. A shower of stars arcing like a rainbow pours onto the fantastic dwelling in the heart of the woods. The cottage is made of ancient stones and juniper wood logs with a thatched roof. Juniper is known for offering protection by banishing anything injurious to health, and it offers peace, health, and love. In front of the cottage is a garden, surrounded by a whimsical fence of knotty logs that twist like black licorice. Healing plants including lavender and sage, chamomile and evening primrose flourish within the garden as they are cast in the darkness of the night. The fox runs up the uneven wooden steps to a deck, arriving at the heavy door with a cast iron knocker. He turns back and meets your gaze. You place your torch in an ornamental bracket that hangs from the deck and ascend the stairs, feeling as your coat dusts their surface. You grasp the cold metal ring knocker and knock it against the door 3 times. The door instantly opens on its own into the cottage, and you bask in the golden glow of light from tapered candles that hang from a chandelier, and a roaring fire in the kitchen burning beneath a cauldron. The witches see you before you can make them out as your eyes adjust to the light. The fox stands in the threshold and nods approvingly to the witches before dashing off into the night. You see the 3 witches, and each one of them reminds you of someone from your past, although you cannot precisely remember who. You feel a sense of trust that goes lifetimes back, feeling as if you have come across each witch before, if only in a childhood dream, buried deep within the sacred confines of your memories. They seem to be of varying ages, sisters of a sacred tribe, with beauty that comes from their sparkling eyes, that connect and see all before you have revealed a thing. The most energetic and youthful-looking witch comes to you, dressed in an emerald green and black velvet medieval-style gown. She is the witch of healing all things, be them physical or emotional or mental. Her hair cascades down her back, and she smiles, instantly giving you a feeling of vivacity. Your attention goes to your pulse, feeling it as a reminder of your own life force. A tiny black cat runs across the ancient, unpolished, wide wooden boards of the cottage and comes to smell your coat. The second witch, a bit older, is dressed in a ruby and purple robe. Her special powers involve love in all the forms that it comes. She is nurturing and greets you, helping you to remove your coat and hang it on a hook by the door that is artistically crafted to resemble the gnarled tree branches of the forest. The exotic aroma you smell deep in the woods is now the heavy perfume that carries across the room, spicy yet sweet. It evokes the comforts of a home in fall. The third witch continues to observe from afar, as if in a dreamy trance. She is adorned in a gown of royal blue velvet with a gold brocade that flows like the waves of the ocean. She reveals to you that her specialty is a focus on time, healing wounds of the past while creating spells in the present that set you on the path for your best future. The witches bring a chair to the center of the room, placed beneath the candelabra that hangs from the ceiling. You take a seat as the youthful witch gets on her knees and removes your shoes and wool socks. The witch of love brings a bowl of steamy water and floating flowers and herbs. She places your bare feet into it. The witch of time comes closer and places her warm palm on your forehead as her thumb presses lightly on your third eye, massaging it. In this moment, you feel heavy, sinking into the chair as your muscles twitch from the long walk and begin to melt into the warmth of the room. Your feet and ankles release tension, tingling in the steamy floral water of the bowl. The witch of healing assesses your feet, finding acupressure points where she presses and intuits places in your body that can benefit from her healing potions. You close your eyes as the witch of time continues to massage your third eye, and it feels as if a door has opened. Your intuition is suddenly enlivened, and with your eyes still closed, the sounds of the witches at work becomes a hypnotic shuffle. You feel like you are in a lucid dream, floating through time. You are on a raft through the lavender mist of the enchanted forest, weightless and guided by destiny. And you see yourself in the future. You are not alone. You are accompanied by earlier versions of you as a young child and as a teen. And together the you of the past and the you of today are witnessing the future you, living out your dream life. The things you have wanted are right before you. You sense the time and work it took to get there. But somehow knowing and seeing makes it all worth the effort, because you are so sure it will happen. This dream may be something you have not told another soul. Because it is so sacred, you worry the opinions of others could taint it. But the Witch of Time knows, and she helps ease you into accepting the reality of this deeply set vision for your life. She says to you, it's not too late. You have time. You open your eyes and come back to the witch's cottage. The Witch of Love brings you a tonic that is steamy and carbonated. She says it is to help you be reminded of the love you feel for yourself and your life. The Witch of Time tells you to let go of your past as you sip this love-inducing elixir. For it is the you of today you must accept to move towards the you of your dreams. All that has happened in time for a reason, to get you to the healing cottage on this magical night. The Witch of Healing has a minty balm that she rubs on your neck and shoulders, massaging deeply into your muscles, undoing the knots of life and stress. You sip the elixir, which tastes sweet and spicy and tingles like soda made with fresh ginger. It warms your throat and belly, comforting you and settling your stomach. The witches form a circle around you and clasp hands. They raise their arms overhead towards the thatched roof. For a moment, the roof floats away, and you are beneath the showering stars and nymph in the crescent moon. Your chair rises as you float, and the witches levitate as well, and you are reminded that you are a part of this vast universe. You are part of powers and energy that cannot be seen or heard, and yet they are still there. You are part of something infinite. A welcome visitor in a world that will outlast you. The witches lower their arms as the roof gracefully lands back on the cottage, like autumn leaves collecting on the forest floor. Your chair lands on the wooden floor, and you smile. Your eyes focus on the fire roaring beneath the cauldron that the witches now fill with lavender and chamomile. The soporific smells fill the room, relaxing you and making you feel quite tired. As you take a big yawn, the Witch of Healing clasps your hand with her warm, strong fingers. She guides you from the room as the other witches tidy up. She leads you to a hidden staircase that twirls around the back of the cottage. You take one dusty step at a time until you arrive to an alcove beneath the angled thatch roof. A single candle illuminates the cozy nook as she leads you to a bed. There's a white cotton gown beneath a sprig of lavender. She hugs you gently and encourages you to go to sleep for the night. The alcove is as cozy as the hollow of a juniper tree. You change into the soft gown and peel back the heavy quilt on the bed. Feeling the weight of the blanket on you, the Witch of Love comes in to tuck you in. Brushing your hair back, she soothes you in a motherly way, and you sense the deepest of unconditional love when you look into her glittery eyes. She urges you to fall asleep to sweet dreams, gently massaging your eyelids and temples as you start to drift away towards sleep. You listen as her dress rustles as she leaves the alcove, and her boots click on the steps of the stairs. You smell lavender in the air as you take in a deep breath and contently sigh it out, sinking deeper into the bed as the autumn wind stirs leaves on the thatched roof. You let go and surrender to the dreams that will guide you to magical lands and deep peace. Drifting down towards sleep. Imagining you are floating across the starry night sky and crescent moon as the Lady in the Moon smiles at you. And she whispers, "You may drift to sleep, my dear, or you may continue to the next adventure. The choice is always yours." Return to the witch's cottage. The summer was long and defied the high hopes you held for freedom and joy. Sometimes things happen beyond your control, and the art of acceptance is given time to be fine-tuned. Sometimes the clouds get in the way, as Joni Mitchell once sang in dulcet tones. The clouds of this gloomy summer caused you to seek out the enchanted forest. Moments of disenchantment and unmet expectations reminded you something magical happens when you can no longer continue on the same path, when your need for light and joy becomes your utmost priority. At this point, it is no longer worth staying in the darkness. The beauty in the world and the beauty in you has been there all along, but the mighty still gray clouds of the summer made you forget that the sun still shines on the other side. The final weeks of summer led you to return to the enchanted forest where the witch's cottage exists. The idea came to you in a dream, brought by an ethereal fairy nestled in a crescent moon. Her urgent night whispers beckoned you to this forest of healing. You awoke one morning with a deep knowing that it was time for an escape. The stress and noise of the modern world had brought you to the brink. The only feasible solution was to immerse yourself in nature and to heal. You had made it to the last proverbial drop before the cup overflowed. You left on this mission without any concern for how long it would take. You would take as long as necessary to reconnect with yourself and to remember all the reasons that life is beautiful. It was near the end of summer when you magically landed and were welcomed by the three witches again, who encouraged you to stay as long as you needed. For them, time was often irrelevant, and more attention was paid to the phases of the moon than to the ticking hands of a clock. You arrived with an empty velvet bag in your favorite color that was draped over your shoulder. This bag had a purpose. It was meant to collect moments. These moments would become lifelong reminders of how good it could be to be alive. The forest had always reminded you why you were gifted this life. To fully experience the sensations of being in your body and sharing your talents and insights. You came here to be the best version of yourself, to be forgiving and nurturing, and to know that you have done your best even when you wished to do better. It took some time for the peace of the forest to settle into your bones. When the softness took over, you lived through each day feeling youthful and vibrant. Your muscles remembered how to move through space with ease, as if you were weightlessly swimming through the crisp evening air. You felt weightless in the forest because you shed the weight of other people's opinions and the constructs of modern society. You could once again hear your inner voice in the stillness. It loudened each new day. This compass that understood your life's direction more than anyone else ever could. Your powers began to glow, and you could see the golden light shining in your heart's center as your passion for life reawakened. Beneath the light of the moon, your chest beamed like a mason jar of lightning bugs as your vitality returned. You revisited the purple-black damp floor of the forest for the last harvest of the lavender fields. You walked across the cool, rich earth of the woodlands and inhaled the sweet tobacco aromas of the forest floor. Perfumed by the minty aroma of evergreen trees, you inhaled the fresh air that felt cleaner than any breaths you had taken in some time. Every inhalation purified you from the inside out. You watched your body detox with every sigh. Thoughts like words typed in black on the breeze, traveling like a smoke trail through the canopy of trees before they evaporated in the sunlight. Your body began to remember, this is what it is like to feel good. The good feeling led to happiness and peace. You remembered your way through the enchanted forest, led by your intuition. Gentle tugs at your solar plexus were the soft reminders to turn here or there. On your first visit, the whispering trees led you to the heart of the forest. But now you no longer needed their guidance, as you were able to trust yourself with each step. A soft mist like a silver tall veil hovered above the forest floor and your bare legs. You felt the cool tiny droplets land on your skin like silk sheets. You returned to the white birch trees with their papery bark and slender, strong trunks. They reminded you about the balance of softness and strength, being delicate and yet fierce. At nightfall, the fairies would come out and dance in the air, lighting up the woods like a rainbow of silk lanterns. Their kaleidoscope wings would playfully flutter, bringing the reminder of the importance of fun. Distant memories of the enchanted forest appeared like vibrant layers of a scrapbook page. Your time in the forest was a salve that soothed the sparks of thoughts in your mind, like a cool bucket of stream water poured over the embers of a fire. When you arrived at the Woodlands cottage, you found the three witches coming in from the lavender fields, having harvested the last of summer's lavender. The witches' talents could extend harvests and nurture blooms well beyond a typical season. The ancient stones and juniper wood logs of the cottage appeared gilded in the late summer light. The thatched roof rose over the cozy dwelling like bales of hay stacked in a wagon for a hayride. The witches built their home to serve as a sanctuary. Every element in its construction offered a healing property. Juniper brought protection, peace, health, and love by banishing anything injurious to one's health. A red fox sat patiently outside the garden, as if awaiting your arrival. The sprightly animal has long held spiritual meaning in Celtic beliefs, as having the powers of a spirit guide. He once guided you to the cottage, but just as the whispering trees have silenced on this trip, he let you find your way on your own. Your inner voice gathered strength this time around and replaced the need for guidance. The three witches stood near a whimsical fence of knotty logs that twisted like chocolate licorice and surrounded the garden. They hugged their arms around overflowing boughs of lavender and simultaneously looked up when you arrived. In a moment of silence, they took you in with their warm gaze. You knew from their empathetic eyes that they could see deep into your soul and were eager to tend to your needs. And just like on your first encounter, you felt a sense of trust that goes lifetimes back. Their kind faces glowed in streaks of afternoon light that surrounded them like a halo. And just as the first time you met, their presence conjured childhood dreams buried deep within the sacred vaults of your memory. These dreams insisted that you had met with them many times before now. Cora, the most energetic and youthful witch, always dressed in emerald green and black velvet, came to you first. She hugged you against the bouquet of lavender. You inhaled the soothing fragrance. Cora's powers were known to heal all things, whether they were physical or emotional or mental. Whenever you are in her presence, you feel your life force and energy flowing through your veins. Your attention always turns to your pulse and vitality, and your body is always covered in a wave of warmth. Ava, the middle sister, often dresses in a ruby and purple robe. Her special powers focus on love in all forms. She remained in the garden area with Carla, the eldest witch, to sun-dry the lavender. Carla, adorned in royal blue and gold, often looked to the world in a dreamy trance, as if watching the layers of time that only she could see. Carla didn't just see the present moment. She saw all moments of the past and possible futures existing and playing out in different trajectories. Carla could heal past wounds. She created spells to set seekers on the path for their best possible futures. What was it that you most sought when you returned to the witch's cottage? Whatever it was, your healing began slowly. When you took away the expectations for it to be a fast process, you forgot about the process altogether. Your days became a series of early mornings, awakening in a cozy alcove to the sounds of chirping birds and rustling leaves in the forest. The last days of summer poured light into the uniquely shaped windows of your dwelling, and particles in the air danced like gold dust around you. You rose each morning feeling deeply rested from dream-filled sleep that helped you heal. Before bed each night, Carla would read ancient passages about the passing of time, while you gathered with her sisters around a fire. After these gatherings, your dreams became vignettes that blended like oil pastels on a canvas, colorful, artistic, entertaining, imaginative. The answers you sought on this expedition came to you unexpectedly and spontaneously throughout the day, in whispers carried on the fragrant forest breeze. You worked each day, helping to gather wood and draw a fire beneath the cauldron. You fed the animals and the black cat named Sulamith, who would rub her shiny fur against you as if she owned you. You learned nothing was to be wasted. Scraps and refuge would be renewed into something useful, be it for a spell or the most mundane of life's necessities. You spent days listening to twigs snap beneath your boots when you foraged for wild berries and items in nature that the witches requested. You hiked atop a mountain at sunset and felt your chest heave into light as you gulped the mountain air with a sense of triumph. With this time in nature, you forgot about the things that once worried you. They seemed so insignificant and useless in this timeless landscape. You remembered what you thought life was supposed to be about. No longer could gadgets or modern constructs get between you and taking care of your most basic needs for survival. Rugged at times, it also felt luxurious. You were granted the luxury of freedom, quietude, and harmony with your environment. Each day the witches would brew teas and draw baths with wildflowers and local fruits and herbs from their garden. The smells were intoxicating, and the flavors were complex and told a story. The sensations and outcomes from each nurturing bath and tincture, each meal and tea, made you feel fantastic. At times you wondered if the love and passion they put into their work were enough to heal you. It had been so long since so much energy was focused on you. You made sure to return the favor by helping out each day in any way you could. A circle of love and appreciation formed around you and the three witches, and it would often become visible at night. You would see the soft amber glow around the four of you when you gathered in the clearing by the cottage. It was a sphere of light that felt warm and soothing. At times it caused your scalp to tingle and that energy to flow down your spine and over your skin like a soft massage. Marmalade sparks would fly from the bonfire towards the dark silhouette of treetops. They would float towards the silver stars, create a mosaic of silver and gold. And this was one of many moments you collected in your satchel for safekeeping and to remind you of the light whenever darkness creeps in. You learned that nature is the gifter of opulence. The fairies would draw towards your nightly gathering and dance across the sky like fireworks on the 4th of July. Cora would be the first to join them in a spontaneous dance to a rhythm that only she could feel in her heart. You would feel the desire to be silly and dance as well. This is how she helped revive you. Ava would hold her heart and sway. Her heart was a vessel that could feel and contain all the love of the forest on those nights. And Carla would watch and sometimes wave a hand over the fire. You and the other witches would gather around it and become quiet. The flames would rise and lick the night air rich like honey. And visions of the past and future would appear in each flame. You saw versions of your younger selves dancing and happy. And then you saw yourself well into the future, dancing and happy as well, yet different. And while all these versions were unified with the person you were in the present, this observer in an enchanted forest, they managed to speak to different parts of you. Carla helped you remember the parts of yourself that you deeply loved and lost along the way. She opened your eyes to the person you longed to become. In the rhythm of the morning walks and nightly fireside dances, you became more of yourself. Your body healed and moved with fluidity, free of inflammation or pain, free of worry or self-doubt. You trusted yourself infinitely and trusted that you knew all you needed to know. and would learn all you needed to learn when the time called for it. It is now your last day that you walk along the sparkling brook that runs through the whispering trees. You feel a longing to return to home. With all the knowledge you have gained, you yearn to give your life another try as this new version of yourself. You walk on the damp earth covered in morning dew. The leaves have begun to change, letting go of their verdant hues to transform into shades of magenta, mahogany, fiery orange, yellow, and gold. Beneath the jewel tones of early autumn, the morning dew droplets glow like crystal balls. Carla, the witch of time, has told you how the light changes this time of year. As daylight hours wane, the sun is more golden and rich, like waves of clover honey poured over the forest. The dewdrops sparkle and act like prisms, and you hear Carla's voice carry through the forest. Time is but an illusion, my dear. Images come to life inside each droplet, and you are suddenly standing in a field of memories. You taste a sweetness on your tongue, like melting chocolate or a drizzle of caramel. You swallow and feel a warm wave travel down your throat and soothe you deep within. The morning air is the chilliest it has been since you arrived at the witch's cottage, and you relish this internal warmth. The field of memories is simple, varied, and pleasant. You remember your favorite places in nature, your most beloved people and animals, activities that you enjoy, the feelings you felt when completing a goal. You walk towards a knoll that is layered with a carpet of colorful leaves covered with morning dew. These droplets contain memories, showing the first time you experienced things. Your lips form a smile and you inhale the smell of sweet autumn leaves because you realize there are many things you've tried for the first time. It makes the idea of more new beginnings feel empowering and inspiring. You think of the things you still wish to try for the first time. You walk down the stream and follow it to the cottage, where you will enjoy the last afternoon with the witches. You look to the cerulean blue sky to see the squiggling black line of wood smoke that weaves between the canopy of colorful autumn leaves from the chimney on the thatched roof. You walk up the creaking stairs and enter the cottage to find the three witches setting the table for an early dinner. Tapered candles flicker on the long hand-carved wooden table that is centuries old. The witches prepared your favorite meal, and its comforting smells fill the open space. A roaring fire warms the room and adds a percussive crackle and pop. The kitchen is basic and functional and contains a cast iron wood stove and wash tub. The long velvet gowns of the witches make soft swooshes as they dust the wooden planks of the floor. They invite you to sit and then join you. Together, like a family, you enjoy the meal. This is another moment you wish to place in your satchel for safekeeping. It is a reminder that you may be born into a family, but your life's journey is abundant with opportunities to create your chosen family. Baby pumpkins and ornate gourds from the garden scatter across a lace tablecloth. Ava brings your favorite dessert and sets it in front of you. Carla lights a tiny candle with the flame of a tapered candle on the table and places it in the sweet dessert. The witches form a circle around you and encourage you to blow out this candle to celebrate your new healing journey going forward. You look into the sparkling eyes of your dear allies in this world and consider the role they have played and the changes you have made and the future you desire. You look to Cora and remember to dance, to move your body, to remember how good it can be to feel this alive. Ava's sweet smile reminds you to love. Love may conquer all, and so may light. Carla stands and wraps her arm around you, and you feel her velvet cape against your cheek. You smell her exotic perfume. She reminds you that you may not control time, but you may always control your choices through time. You may always give yourself the chance to heal. You take in a deep breath and blow out the candle. You feel yourself believing that anything is possible when you set your mind to it. But even more importantly, this time for serenity and peace has informed you of what you may want to experience in this life. It has realigned you with your inner compass, the guide that you've always most needed. After dinner, the witches sing and dance, and you join them in what has become a routine. You move your body with the bliss of a toddler first learning to dance. You feel the freedom to move for the sake of feeling good and alive, as Cora has taught you. It's been a long time since you last felt self-conscious about anything. The wind whips around the cottage with the chill of a fall night. You hear the sound of a distant loon cry out, and the melody travels through the enchanted forest and over the sounds of the witches dancing and singing. When you can dance no more, the witches prepare a sleeping tea made from the lavender they harvested the day you arrived. The tea is brewed with chamomile flowers that float like lily pads on the silky liquid. You take a sip and taste honey and the floral notes of the soporific blend. It makes you feel even more relaxed and tired. Come morning, you will be returned to your bed at home. But on this last night, you may relish the sanctuary in the woods and dream the dreams you were meant to dream. You say goodnight to the witches and retreat to the familiar hidden staircase that spirals around the back of the cottage. You have memorized every creak and soft groan of each stair. You ascend the stairs to the cozy alcove beneath the angled thatched roof. The light of a full moon pours into the diamond-shaped window above your bed and casts the room in shimmering light. On this night, you encounter a patchwork quilt that is a gift from the witches. Without you knowing, they magically sourced fabrics that have been part of your life's journey and craftily stitched them together. Worn plush material from a beloved toy your first blanket, your favorite shirt, and other joyous articles now create the most beautiful and softest quilt you have ever seen. You bring it to your nose and take in the familiar scents of your life that have brought you the most peace and moments of intimacy. Only you know what they are. Yet somehow the witches brought them back to you. Your name is embroidered at the top of the quilt in a beautiful handwritten script. You run your fingers across it and smile. You have promised the witches to return the kindness and love to others in your waking life when you begin a new day. You change into a cotton nightshirt that is soft and cool against your skin. You peel back the heavy quilt and climb into the plush bed. Your sleeping alcove is as cozy as a hollow in a tree. Each night during this expedition, you have slept deeply in this healing pod and dreamt the most beautiful dreams. And each new night, the dreams only got better. You take in a deep breath and contentedly sigh. Your body sinks deeper into the bed and your eyes close. The autumn wind stirs leaves that have landed on the thatched roof, and the sound fills you with gratitude for the warmth of the cottage. You let go and surrender to the dreams that will guide you to magical lands and deep peace. Drifting and floating between worlds, you are empowered to embrace sleep or follow along to the next story. Winter at the Witch's Cottage. Those who don't believe in magic will never find it, but those who do are so used to discovering enchantment that they find it in the mundane. A window covered in lacy winter frost that melts in the morning sun. In oversized flurries and sparkling mica embedded in a sidewalk. In rays of sunlight shining on butterfly wings. In conversations between squirrels hoarding acorns in winter. In the sweet smell of wood smoke trails across the frosty winter air at twilight. In subtle changes in the body throughout a day or week, or even the changes that come over a lifetime. Magic is as present as you make it. The witches always knew this. They knew all that one needed to heal could be found within. The questions of a curious soul are answered in the darkness of night. Of course, it is easy in the modern world to get lost and go against one's inner voice to conform and meet the conditioning of the times. This is not something the witches would ever endorse. They wish that at the end of each person's life, they may look back on a life of purpose, joy, freedom, and service. Through an ethereal landscape on a wintry night, the witches sense your need to celebrate your individuality and reconnect with the most beloved parts of yourself. Whenever you are invited to their cottage, memories of the sleeping alcove and enchanted forest come flooding back in a welcome stream of serene feelings of safety. Blurred and dreamlike, these memories are like those of early childhood. like watercolor renderings vibrant in color, sparkling and fluid. You recall the smells of herbal tonics made from flowers and plants the witches foraged in the woodlands. The cozy alcove in their cottage is a healing pod for deep sleep. You recall the rustle of their elegant velvet frocks as they brushed softly against your skin when you pulled lavender and sage from the garden in summer. You return to the witches when a crescent snow moon appears in the sky, visible in the late afternoon hours. You walk on the sparkling packed snow and listen to it crunch beneath your feet. The blanket of snow takes on the hue of cotton candy pink as a fiery sun sets beyond the mountain peaks that surround the woodlands. The moon is like a sliver of a fingernail, dainty and slight. Raspberry pink and tangerine clouds swirl around the delicate moon and cast it in pink. And so the moon appears a pastel hue of peachy pink. When you enter the forest, you can hear a familiar whisper on the frosty breeze. You are right where you belong. It feels good to belong. It feels good to be on target and feel you are doing well, despite missteps and challenges that have been beyond your control. You may have taken on too much, but alas, that is easy to do in modern times, when one cannot easily escape a constant stream of news and information. In the enchanted woods, it is easy to be present, to be undistracted, and to reconnect with nature. There is no judgment or implication of how things ought to be. Raccoons and squirrels nest in the hollows of their chosen trees, not at all concerned with what is thought of their homes. They gravitate towards what is safe and warm, and cherish the protection from the whipping February winds. A bird sings out its song with no concern of how it sounds, for it was born to sing. As you walk through the woods, you wonder about what you would like to do and experience in this magical life that is uniquely yours. When in the forest, you are reminded to live life how you choose. Your inner voice becomes louder and reminds you of what you like and what matters to you. You're the only person to ever grasp what it is like to live through the traumas, the milestones, the challenges, the blessings, and the experience of being in your body. And that journey is why you are here, after all. You no longer care to keep up with the speed of the modern world. You no longer wish to feel that you're falling behind, because that's just an idea, not a fact. The witches await your arrival, certain that rest is deserved, and that healing arrives in the moments of silence. When the universe aligns with your intentions, you need not work so hard, and more is manifested in these times than in the points where you have strived or overworked yourself into misery. Once led by the light of fairies, the fairies now hibernate in their secret dwellings, covered with a sheath of glittering ice. You no longer need their guidance, having returned with your inner compass to guide you towards the heart of the woods. Twigs snap beneath your boots, delivered to the forest floor on a windy night. The trees have been stripped to their bones, and their branches are covered with ice and snow that glow in pink and lavender hues as they reflect the sunset sky. The winter reveals the resilience of deciduous trees. The skinny brown branches reach for the sky like fingers grasping for the last rays of sunlight, while the trunks and roots stubbornly grasp the earth as if to say, "It's okay, I am home." Internally, you understand the need to be rooted in a sense of safety and home, while your heart and mind also long for more. The sky becomes a deep navy blue and amethyst, and the stars twinkle through the silhouette of winding branches. The evergreen trees surrender to the weight of snow that coats their needles like vanilla frosting, and tiny icicles dangle towards the ground. In the summer months, their piney fragrance is lush and overwhelming to the point you can taste it. But in the snap of the cold, your olfactory system picks up subtle peppery and minty notes that marry the metallic smell of snow. A red fox you have met before appears, and this time feels like an old friend. He always senses your arrival and has led you to the witch's cottage on prior trips. And while he intuitively knows that you are wise enough to find your way, he still appears to look after you. It pleases you to have an unspoken exchange when you look into his copper eyes. You feel warmed from head to toe by his welcome before he dashes off into the shadows. The spicy, sweet smell of burning wood and the smell of freshly baked bread overwhelmed the muted smells of the frozen forest floor and clean air. The witch's cottage glows from flickering candlesticks set on windowsills and a roaring fire in the common area. Bundled in your winter attire, you are warm and comfortable. Your muscles are tired in the best possible way, for often they become tense when bracing in the cold. But despite the heavy winter layers, you feel light and carefree. You have shed the invisible weight of your daily life and the conditioning and opinions of anyone but yourself. A rustic wooden gate wraps around the cottage like licorice twists covered in snow. Your gloved hand dusts off the snow of the door handle, and icicles glow and glimmer like holiday lights. Your inner voice becomes loud with these words. This is my life. I do what I want. I am free to be whatever I want to be. I am free. I am free. A smile forms on your face, and the cold night air tingles your lips. The witches, like the fox, sensed your arrival the moment your boots first crunch on the path through the forest. The cottage door flies open, and the three witches come running down the steps to the walkway. Their long skirts dust the snow in a soothing swoosh. The rustic gate door swings open, and puffs of snow fall like explosive, shimmering white clouds as they land on the ground. The witches welcome you in a group hug, and it is different than your earlier visits, where everyone was more subdued and reverent. You are one of the honorary coven members, and trust has built over time. You are no longer simply a visitor. This is a homecoming. One by one, the witches press their hearts against yours, and there is an electric exchange of energy that warms the center of love. A loving sensation travels throughout your body. Carla, the oldest and sagest witch, looks at you and says, "The world can be a weary place, but we are here to take care of you so that you'll leave renewed and revived." You are led up the stairs into the warm embrace of the cottage. The three witches help remove your layers and hang them on wooden hooks made from twisting branches. In the forest, nothing is wasted, and the witches honor this in their daily lives. The woodlands are quiet. The thick snow of the thatch roof forms another layer of insulation. Sound is absorbed by the snow. The cottage is like a warm cave. In the dry, heated air, the embers of the fire crackle and pop. The dining table is set for dinner and overflows with a feast in your honor. Your favorite dishes have been prepared, and the fragrant aromas take you back to blissful memories. The witches believe cooking is a form of sorcery, with various concoctions that come together and bring tastes that transport you instantly, with ingredients that give life and good health. The dinner is festive, yet languid. Laughter and joyous conversation fill the cottage as you pick up where you left off on your last visit. As midnight approaches, you and the witches gather around the fireplace. You hold a velvet satchel in your hand that you've used in the past to collect moments when visiting. This purple satchel was gifted to you by the witches on your first visit. Now it contains a folded list of your intentions that you scrawled out per the witches' instructions on the first night of the new snow moon. It's not very often, and certainly not a daily experience, that someone asks you, "What do you want?" But this is a question the witches are focused on, especially during this trip. Cora, the youngest of the witches, is dressed in black and emerald green velvet. Her red curls flow down her back and glow in the firelight. She is the first to inquire about your intentions. You unfold the paper, and it is passed around as you receive support from each witch. Cora reacts with the exuberant gaze of a best friend who's known you for a long time. Ava, the middle sister, sits demurely by the fire and smiles at you like a beloved teacher. Carla, the eldest, specializes in spells for future goals, and her gaze is maternal and worldly. You are completely honest in writing down your intentions for your life and what you want. because you know the witches would see through you. They know when you're faking. They know your authentic spirit. When Carla lovingly looks at you, your confidence rises, and you see the strongest version of yourself reflected in her glassy eyes. The witches guide you to the window, and you look out on the quiet night. The sky glitters with stars, and you see the crescent moon nestled between the silhouette of trees. Each phase of the moon calls for a ritual, and you will stay until the moon is full and high. The waxing crescent moon on your first night gives a time for nurturing yourself and your ideas. Feeling tired, Ava leads you to the alcove. The bed is made with a fluffy comforter, illuminated by a silvery aura from the moonlight that pours through a skylight window. Every night, weather permitting, the moon will glow brighter. On your first night, you sleep soundly, in a deep, dream-filled rest that lasts until noon. You awaken and breakfast still waits for you, as the witches go about their early afternoon chores, never scolding you or judging you. They let you respond to your internal clock, as you sleep in long spurts like a hibernating bear. After breakfast, you enjoy brisk walks by a frozen stream each afternoon. The mountain air is so frigid that your eyes tear and the moisture in your nose freezes. Everything feels crunchy. You savor these sensations because they keep your attention focused on your physical being, and your mind has no room for unnecessary thoughts. Each walk becomes your daily meditation, and somehow the red fox always anticipates your walk and meets you across the stream. You walk at the same pace with the icy blue stream between you until you reach a frozen pond. The fox will then dash off to its warm tree hollow, and you return to the cottage. Some late day afternoons, you lay down in the alcove and watch gold specks of dust shimmer in the sunlight as you drift into a nap. Sometimes you don't awaken until after sunset. You help the witches prepare dinner each night, gathering potatoes and vegetables and grains from the root cellar. After dinner, always satiated and full, you gather by the fire. You all wear wool socks knitted by Ava and rest your feet so close to the flames they become hot. And with your feet warm, at midnight the witches lead you to a snowy clearing where you move your body beneath the moonlight. On some nights, snow flurries float in the air, and silvery white clouds block the moon. But you move in a ritual anyway. Your breath condenses on the wintry air. The often overlooked clouds that float from your mouth become magic to you again, like the first times you ever saw your breath. You are free to be silly in your movements, to stretch your limbs and shake your torso in any motion that feels good. Some nights you stand with your legs frozen in stillness, and sway only your shoulders in the direction of the night winds. It's amazing how much freedom you have in your body when you are in a place that is safe and nurturing. The moon becomes brighter each night. When the moon is a quarter, Carla instructs you to take actions towards your intentions. And you do. You give power to your words and create new patterns in your day consistently. Sometimes it's as simple as casting away any thoughts of doubt and imagining the life you desire. Not tied to results, you are caught up in the wonderful processes of learning and allowing. One night the sky becomes the color of the dark blue ink that sits atop the witch's desk in a tiny ceramic jar. They use it to refill their fountain pens when journaling and writing manifestations. More than half of the moon is illuminated, and you feel it tug at you softly, urging you to continue to grow and change. The moon has a pull on you, much like the pull it has on the sea. You are welcome to invite a new version of yourself that the world has yet to see, a version that you are excited to become. One by one, the witches file into the cottage, and you stand with your feet firmly in the snow. Clouds roll in fast, and it begins to snow. The white aura of the moon breaks through the translucent clouds. Celestial snowflakes land on a heavy embroidered cape loaned to you by Carla on the coldest nights. You hear a wolf cry from the top of the mountain. Her song echoes through the clearing, encouraging you to be brave and strong and to use your own voice. The red fox appears at the edge of the clearing. Like a spiritual guide, he is always there to remind you that he's looking out for you. As a deep wave of tranquility takes over you, you are ready to return to the cottage with the understanding that your stay will soon be over. But every day you grow stronger. You feel more rested and relaxed. Your body becomes light and fluid, while your heart feels strong and your mind feels empowered. Your heart rate is the lowest it has been in years. You feel happy every day, in tune with simple pleasures and free of internal conflict. You let the past stay in the past. You feel fulfilled and connected to your intentions. You know this visit will stay with you for a long time. And when you return to your normal life, you will be changed in a way that the little things will no longer trigger you. You'll react calmly, and your body will regulate itself with ease. In preparation for the full moon, you help the witches make pillar candles. Between layers of hot liquid wax, you place slips of paper with your intentions written on them. You add sprigs of sage and clear quartz gemstones that look like small, jagged pieces of ice. At sunset, you place the finished candles in a bow window at the front of the cottage bask in the moonlight. The candles burn throughout the night. After a light meal, the witches lead you towards a barn that houses 4 horses, one chestnut, one white, one black, and one silvery blue. Their lustrous manes are adorned in long satin ribbons in a rainbow of colors. You climb upon one of the horses, while the 3 witches climb onto the others. The full snow moon shines into the open barn door, beckoning you into the night. The red fox curiously stands outside the barn and watches as the 4 of you trot out towards the snowy clearing. The night is majestic, and the snowy field reflects the vibrant moon. Anything feels possible. The wind blows against your face, and the borrowed cape sails on the breeze. 16 hooves pound into the soft snow and leave their prints as evidence that you were here. You lap around the field in circles, laughing and smiling. Flurries fall and melt on your lips and cheeks. You feel your heartbeat and a delicious feeling in your lungs. The feeling that comes after a fit of giggles and a night spent dancing without a care in the world. The sky is your canvas, where you visualize all you want to manifest, now ready to receive all you have longed for. You trust in the power of the full moon. This night fills you with readiness and acceptance that you deserve to experience life to its fullest. You deserve joy. You deserve to see the dreams that were planted deep in your soul begin to sprout and grow. Scott Stabile said, "Don't worry if you're making waves just by being yourself. The moon does it all the time." You pause in the field, sitting proudly atop your horse, and look at the full snow moon for one last time. You bask in its light, and the witches gather around you on their horses. The night is quiet and calm, and the loving eyes of the witches turn to you with deep wisdom and pride that you have come to a place of peace and acceptance, and you are ready to return home. The horses make their way back towards the barn, leading you instead of you leading them. They rest in their stables atop a bed of fresh, dry hay. Back at the cottage, the candles have burned down, and your crystals remain, basking in the moonlight and charging. The moonlight clears them of old energy, and they are renewed. The witches hug you fiercely one last time and encourage you to come back whenever you need to. You know that they mean it, and they have become a chosen family. You climb up the wooden stairs for the last night that you will spend in the alcove. You nestle into the bed, cloaked in the light of the full snow moon, and you drift towards sleep. this night feels different than the others, and you imagine you are floating on a luminous white cloud, as soft and translucent as gossamer. You travel around the moon and through the stars, drifting deeper and deeper down into sleep and serenity. Come morning, you will awaken in your bed at home, with the clear quartz crystals resting atop your pillow, as proof that this was not just a dream. But now, in the comforting embrace of the night, you surrender to sleep. The red fox meets you in your dreams, guiding you towards visions of a life that you long to experience. Each time the fox appears, you realize you are loved, and you may choose to surrender to your dreams, or you may visit the witch's cottage one more time. A time for renewal at the witch's cottage. Spring is a special season for renewal, and out of the blue, the three witches invited you for an annual celebration at their cottage. The witches knew, having witnessed your sleeping dreams with your permission, that you were bogged down by the chaos of the world. The oldest sister, Carla, felt the longing in your heart. This saudade came in waves of nostalgia for something that once was, and sometimes for something that you couldn't put your finger on. Maybe it was something that existed, or maybe it was something you hoped for and experienced only in your dreaming life. The feeling persisted at times, with a soft tug at your heart or a whisper in your ear, as you thought, there must be more than this. The witches were always more than aware of all that went unseen by most people. Their kindness on your visits sprouted out of the soil of yearning to nurture. They served as a constant reminder that everything was once made up or imagined. All the earthly human concerns and structures that seem so real are not quite so real at all. To them, the energy of the trees and the notes of a robin's morning song were more real and reverberated with stronger messages than all the made-up concerns of modern society. Cora, with her playful sing-song voice, could always be caught saying, "If you don't like the way things are, then just make something else up." Was it really that simple? On a warm afternoon, you arrive at the enchanted forest, carrying an item the witches requested. It felt a little silly to indulge them, but at the same time, you trusted them deeply. On the rare occasions that they asked for something, it was done so with good reason, and you didn't see the point in questioning. There were enough things to think about on your own, and when it came to this, it was best to trust them. In a handwritten letter on thick parchment paper, with her ostentatious penmanship full of loops and scrolls, Carla wrote to ask you to arrive with an empty piece of luggage. And this is how you find yourself with a rolling suitcase bouncing behind you over the damp, mossy carpet of the forest floor. As you walk through the woodlands, the empty suitcase bounces like a tennis ball over gnarly tree roots that rise out of the thawed earth. You approach a part of the forest where cherry blossoms appear on trees like tufts of cotton candy pink promises that the harshest of winter is done. Pink and ivory petals scatter on the dark green and brown forest floor like messengers of beauty on its way. In the sunlight, the air is warm on your face, but the occasional breeze in the shadows of the trees is crisp and cool. You arrive at the white birch trees, where baby robins chirp from abundant nests in newly created colonies that bring hope and vivacity to the forest. At the base of a white birch tree, you discover the pastel blue shell of a robin egg nestled atop a soft sheet of papery white bark. You pick up the bark and balance it with the eggshell in the palm of your hand. It is delicate to touch, yet invokes deep feelings inside of you. You place the shell and papery bark into a cloth satchel that drapes diagonally across your ribs and continue on. The red fox appears, the spirit animal who has looked after you and guided you on every visit. But this time, he's not alone. His mate and their 2 young kits follow closely behind. The young pups are often distracted as they tumble and play on a small knoll of lush moss and chanterelle mushrooms. You pause and watch the fox family enjoy the softness of spring, now free from the tree hollow where they hid on the harshest winter nights. The fox is proud, and while quite occupied, remembers you and makes you feel valued. You look into his beady eyes with appreciation, and the conversation going on in your mind thanks him. And for the first time in the enchanted forest, you do not just intuitively sense his feelings. You hear him answer back in your mind. I think of you often, and I'm always looking out for you. You could tease yourself a million different ways to tomorrow, but it feels liberating to simply accept the experiences that unfold on your journey to the witch's cottage. Suspension of disbelief opens doors to your heart that harm no one and make you feel deeply appreciated and noticed. Attention is the ultimate form of generosity in a world where time is the most limited and unpredictable resource. Who knows how many springs may come? You respect the fragility of time with your appreciation for the present. In your normal life, the daily routine has the power to make every day feel exhaustingly the same. But when you tune in, you realize that things are constantly changing around you. The present moment comes but once and is never replicated, no matter how anyone may try to do so. You arrive at the beloved cottage, as the sun dips beyond the horizon, creating a dreamy sky of soft pastels that swirl like melted puddles of orange and raspberry sherbet. A squiggly line of smoke creates a trail across the sky, like the strokes of a fountain pen in Carla's hand. The smoke lends a sweet yet peppery aroma to the smells of wet earth, damp grass, and metallic clean air. The final thaw came just a couple of weeks prior, and when you inhale, the damp air tastes like clean droplets of melted snow. Cora sees you first, running towards you with a basket of vibrant wildflowers that offer pops of periwinkle, lavender, lemon yellow, orange, and hot pink. Her curls bounce on the satin cape draped over her slender shoulders. She looks more vibrant and fresh than you have ever seen her. And the energy is infectious when she greets you with a kiss on the cheek and places a flower in your favorite hue behind your ear. You follow her towards the cottage and struggle to drag your luggage along. Out of nowhere, it has become quite heavy. Cora smiles mysteriously, as if she knows something you do not. She wraps her long, slender fingers around the handle next to yours and helps you hoist the suitcase through the fence and up the pathway to the cottage. You enter the cottage and it feels like a homecoming, as it always does. A safe haven that is so familiar you feel so long as you have been alive, that you have been returning to this refuge in the woodlands. Twilight sets in, and candles illuminate the knotty wood walls of the home. Carla blows out a long match after lighting the last candle in a centuries-old candelabra. When she sees you, her eyes soften and shine, like crystallized honey when it warms and becomes satiny and liquid once more. Sometimes you feel so much comfort and joy looking into her eyes that it's followed by a wave of sadness that you don't quite understand. But Carla always tells you it's because you feel safe enough to feel everything. She always knows how to soothe it. Carla walks across the room and her long flowing dress sweeps over the old planks of the floor. She hugs you firmly like a mother, and the velvet collar of her regal dress brushes against your neck and cheek. Welcome, my dear. You have been missed. The cottage is different this time of year. The cracked open windows cause a stir in the air. The breeze is cool, but the air is still warm, as there is a cauldron in the center of the room, where Ava stirs a healing remedy for sleep. With chamomile and lavender floating atop the water, she pours a jar of honey sourced from her bee sanctuary. It makes the air sweet and intoxicating. Cora stands on a hand-carved chair with depictions of forest animals on the legs and back. She hangs the spring flowers in bunches from a wooden beam over the main room. Carla returns to the kitchen to prepare you a bowl of thick stew made of fresh vegetables and herbs foraged in the woods. Come summer, the witch's garden will overflow with produce, herbs, and flowers. But for now, they graze, and the forest meets their needs. Carla guides you towards the fireplace, and you sit in a plush velvet chair. 5 kittens sleep in a basket, curled atop one another in the amber glow of the fire. The savory smell of your stew awakens them from slumber, and they fumble out of the wicker basket curiously before they scatter across the floor with their hair standing up on alert. You eat your stew as they bravely climb onto your feet and bat at your shoelaces. The most brazen kitten is a long-haired tortoiseshell who is the only one to climb onto your lap and sniff at the stew. But this does not satisfy her curiosity, and she climbs up to your shoulder and sniffs your face, intrigued by the smell of a person from another world and time. You extend a hand for her to investigate, and she nuzzles her head into your palm, indicating that you are trustworthy. The kittens are the progeny of imagination, Cora's beloved cat, who prefers to roam the barn at twilight over being confined indoors. The stew fills you and tastes familiar and woodsy and unusual at the same time. You feel your body relax in a sigh as you enjoy the last few spoonfuls. The witches go about their evening busy work, and Carla explains that there is a fairy dance in the woods once the moon rises. You pick up the purring puffball from your chest and kiss her on the head before placing her with her littermates that tumble and bat at one another beneath a heavy wood coffee table. You take your dish to the kitchen and clean it, and look out the window onto the misty rolling hills behind the cottage. The sky is full of glittering stars, and the damp meadows appear to be covered in flowing midnight blue gossamer. The witches stand by the door and give you a warm cape to wear on the journey to the fairies' reveal. Ava explains that every spring the fairies come out of hibernation to light up the night. Their soiree is an invitation for the fireflies to return, and for all creatures of the forest to celebrate warmer days. You follow the witches, hypnotized by their whooshing skirts that sashay above the dewy earth. You feel tired yet curious, and soon you are led to the white birch trees where you discovered the robin's eggshell and papery white bark on the ground. At first, the woodlands are so quiet that you hear the soft sighs and breaths of the witches. Then suddenly, a flash of electric blue light dashes across the woods as the first fairy appears. Others follow in hues of pink, orange, neon yellow, and light purple. They sing a song with many harmonies, Their voices are soft and their melody catchy. As they skirt around the white birch trees like hummingbirds, the trees glow in their vibrant light as if basking in rainbow spotlights. They sprinkle fairy dust on the dark green earth and it begins to glow. The sisters look back to see if you can enjoy and take in the fairy dance. They are pleased to see you are engaged and do not miss a moment of the performance. In the light of the fairy dust, you recognize all the creatures that have come out to partake in the celebration of renewal. Ladybugs crawl up the white birch trees for a better view. A doe leads her clumsy fawn towards the spectacle. A den of bunnies reveals themselves as their mother clears the opening so they may watch as well. You look up towards the midnight blue sky to see raccoons and squirrels perched on tree branches, and cardinals and sparrows tucked in their nests. An owl hoots, and the fairies respond with a new song. In the shadows of the trees, you see your fox friend and family have arrived as well. You feel full of joy and life, part of something grander than you realize. The spectacle ends when the half moon rises to the center of the sky, and the creatures of the forest return to their shelter to rest. Carla threads her arm around yours, and your elbows lock together. She says, "Not everyone who comes to the forest sees what you just saw. Only those who believe are open enough to experience." In this intimate exchange, you ask her why your suitcase became so heavy, even though it is empty. She tells you that you will find out in the morning and to savor this night, not worrying about it now. When you return to the warm, dry air of the cottage, Ava grabs a wooden ladle and pours the sleepy elixir she made into a teacup. She hands you the first one and then fills 3 more for herself and her sisters. She raises her steaming cup and toasts to a day well spent and to a night of rest. The floral tea is perfectly sweet, and as it flows down your throat, you instantly feel your muscles and body relax. In deep peace, you become tired, and your eyes begin to blear. The witches say goodnight and return to their rooms. The fluffy tortoiseshell kitten leaves her litter to find you. You place her back in the basket, but she pops out again and stays close to the backs of your heels. She follows you up the narrow, winding staircase that leads to the guest alcove. When you reach the cozy nook, you turn around and look at her. Her big, pleading kitten eyes are like silver and green saucers, illuminated by moonbeams that shine through the skylight windows. You reach down and pick her up and hold her warm, fluffy body against your chest. The vibrations of her purrs fit between the beats of your heart, and the steady rhythm soothes you both. You place her on the bed and change into pajamas that smell of lavender. You peel back the heavy quilt and collapse into the mattress. The kitten walks over to you and curls up and falls asleep in the curve of your neck and right shoulder. Soon you are both in a deep sleep, appearing in one another's spring-inspired dreams until the first rays of sunlight pour into the room and a new day begins. You awaken to sounds of clanking metal pans and water running as the witches prepare breakfast. The kitten rises and stretches in the sunlight streaming through the windows. She softly meows, and you scratch under her chin. You get out of bed and dress for the day. Feeling content and renewed, you head to the kitchen with your new furry friend following behind to rejoin her siblings. You enjoy a bountiful breakfast with the three sisters as golden sunshine pours through the windows and tiny particles dance like fairy dust. Cora is particularly cheerful in the morning. She tells you, every morning comes with a promise of things you've never experienced before. Carla is quiet, but her smile and eyes reveal that something important will transpire today. She claps her hands together and says, "It's time for our spring renewal." She instructs you to gather your empty suitcase from the foyer. You do as told and follow the three witches outside. You feel stronger and more rested than you have in a long time, and yet you struggle to carry the suitcase down the stairs. The grass and rolling meadows of wildflowers sparkle with dew in the beaming sun. Carla leads the group, but you continue to struggle to carry the empty suitcase. Carla pauses as if she knew this would happen, and she smiles at you with compassion. You explain to her that you cannot understand why the suitcase is only getting heavier the farther you walk. She places her hand on your upper arm and caresses it as empathy pours out of her. My dear, you have been carrying this weight all along, but because you ignored it and stuffed it inside you, it was buried so deep in your body that you failed to notice. You feel safe to be vulnerable and slow down when you visit. And that's why you are finally able to recognize what has weighed you down. Ava chimes in. We will help you release it, only if you're ready, of course. Cora smiles as she blows a spiral lock of red hair out of her eyes. You're strong enough to carry that on your own, but we can help you. It's a lot for one person to carry. Surrounded by the loving circle of the three sisters, you surrender to the emotions that come to the surface. Relief, peace, sadness, joy, gratitude, acceptance. They flow purely, and you are celebrated for experiencing and releasing each one. Grief, longing, regret. The three witches each pick up a corner of the suitcase, and as you walk together, you recognize the things that have been holding you back. The opinions of others, the self-judgment, memories of being let down or told your needs didn't matter. The weight of the world and things beyond your control. You feel and process each one like memory capsules popping so they can become free. You realize that all along you have had the power to let them resonate and be given attention so that you could become free. But the truth is, you weren't ready just yet. But now you are. With each concern and stressor that you process, the suitcase becomes lighter and lighter. The witches continue to help carry your burdens and make you feel less alone than you have ever felt before. You arrive at a clearing beneath a canopy of lush trees and come to a silvery babbling brook. You set the suitcase down on the grass. You guide the zipper around the sleek contours of the hard case and open it. Sunlight streams through the branches, and a colony of butterflies takes flight towards the trees. Your heart flutters to the tempo of their wings with hope and the promise of good things to come. This visit offers a metamorphosis that has only been possible over time. Carla instructs you to leave the suitcase open so it may capture the renewal of spring. The witches laugh and twirl and clap their hands, cheering you for releasing what has been so heavy. They praise you for your self-awareness and lead you towards the water's edge. Every spring they dip into the silvery blue water that still retains a kiss of winter's chill to renew themselves and experience the season with fresh eyes and curiosity. And with an open heart and forgiving mind. In this beloved and sacred forest, you process your life with reflection rather than rumination and regret. All along, you could have focused on an openness to new experiences and renewal. You just weren't there yet, because all those endings you were avoiding were leading you to new beginnings the moment you opened yourself to them. And on this perfect spring day, you feel ready. Fully clothed, you follow the witches into the stream and laugh. The water soothes your nerve cells. The coolness shocks your system so that there's no room to think. You are present. Your body tingles and then becomes numb as you float over the smooth rocks of the stream bed. The water is persistent and soothing, and just like it softened the rocks, you feel a softening in your heart. You float on your back and look at the clear cerulean sky and realize that every morning, every moment gives you a chance to start anew. You do not need to wait. The opportunity comes with each breath. And with each breath, you get to decide who you want to be. The witches reach out their cool, wet hands, and you form a circle with intertwined fingers. You hop and splash about in the stream in a playful pact to always remember the lessons of spring. When it is time to return to the cottage, the red fox appears and takes a sip from the water. He lifts his head and looks your way, and you hear him in your mind as he says, "You have grown so much." And you think to yourself, "Yes, I have." Back at the cottage, you change into dry garments and catch up with the witches around the fire. You show them the white birch bark and robin's egg that you discovered during your arrival. Always imaginative Cora takes them from you and disappears. Moments later, she returns with a clear glass bottle that contains the blue eggshell and white bark arranged on a tiny bed of moss and dried flowers. You thank her for the memento, a loving gift and reminder of spring's renewal. You retreat to the alcove for an afternoon nap when your eyes cannot stay open a moment longer. Your new kitten friend comes along. A bouquet of daffodils and tulips sits in a crystal vase that Ava placed as a surprise on the bedstand. You run your fingers across the silky petals and smile. There is so much beauty to behold when one looks for it. Enough to fill every waking hour of each day. And it is the contrast of darkness that makes the beauty shine brighter. But for now, sleep calls to you. And like old friends in a now familiar routine, the kitten cuddles against your neck as you sink deeper and deeper into the bed. You fade between worlds, and every now and then you hear a whisper or rustling sound from the witches downstairs. Their presence is a reminder that you are protected, loved, and cared for. And with that, you allow yourself to surrender to sleep, to surrender to the possibilities of uplifting discoveries in your dreaming and waking life. You float on this breath as it ebbs and flows, as your chest rises and falls, letting go and welcoming the peaceful waves of sleep that wash over you, or journeying through the next story to meet the fairies. The Woodland Fairies. W.B. Yeats, in The Land of Heart's Desire, penned, "Come fairies, take me out of this dull world, for I would ride with you upon the wind and dance upon the mountains like a flame." The peculiar thing about people who consider the make-believe to be silly is that they seem to have forgotten that everything in their mundane routines was made up by somebody at some point. For thousands of years, society has been far more accepting of those who partake in made-up endeavors that chip away at joy and center around toil. But what about the make-believe that inspires fun and lightheartedness? What about the make-believe that feels good and inspires you to imagine better? Deep in a temperate rainforest are secret woodlands that embrace the make-believe that brings peace, harmony, and enchantment. For too long, humankind has carried the weight of the not-so-fun made-up rules. There was a time long ago when the fairies roamed the rocky coast and were close with humans who befriended them. But the acceptance and even belief in fairies began to wane when tiny villages drafted new laws and cared more about the material world than Mother Nature and the ethereal. And so the fairies retreated to a hidden forest that was invisible to all those who did not believe in them. They wanted nothing to do with this new world and found pleasure among the mist, their cherished trees, the mossy forest floor, and the diverse fauna of the woods who never stopped believing in them. A few times a century, a believer or two would discover the protected woodlands, and the fairies would rejoice at the chance to engage with humankind again. They never grew tired of waiting, but it was a delightful surprise when the right soul showed up on the mulch path to their haven. Their wisdom was meant to be shared. They reminded the rare visitor of their inner child and that humans belonged to the earth rather than the other way around. The fairies reconnected these curious souls with the purity and love without bounds, witnessed only in children and domesticated animals. In the middle of the last century, two young lovers cast themselves away from life in a modern city. They preferred to marry each other and marry the woods rather than the rules of society, even if it meant giving up comforts. At the time, acquaintances and family mocked their aspirations. It was silly for someone to go off the grid when so much time and effort throughout history had led to this modern time of friendly cul-de-sacs and copycat suburbs. But what felt like wealth and prosperity to others left the young lovers more and more disenchanted. City life and modern careers riddled them with anxiety. They spent their days dreaming about a cottage in the woods. One night the couple had the very same dream, in which they were very happy and prosperous in the middle of the woodland and visited by 4 fairies. In the dream, they were given a map of the secret forest. The reverie ended with a loving whisper from a fairy in a gossamer blue dress. "You will live a wonderful life here if you dare to believe." And believe they did. The very next day, they said goodbye to their old life, and with open hearts said hello to their dream life. The fairies helped them harness the 4 elements of water, wind, fire, and earth to become comfortable living off the land while respecting nature. They learned how to make forest glass out of wood ash and sand, and they salvaged old trees to create a cabin castle deep in the woods. They lived for many decades in the mystical splendor, never worried about modern concerns. Mother Nature gave them all they needed to survive, and more joy than even their dreams had envisioned. And after a wonderful life together, one afternoon, they fell asleep in a clearing where they had a picnic every summer and never woke up. The fairies tended to their burial, and a luscious garden of wildflowers sprouted as a marker the following spring. The fairies took care of the beautiful cabin castle, and with the blessing of the lovers before they passed, they visited the dreams of believers in need of an escape to the healing woods. The cabin castle became a refuge for dreamers who believed. You can't remember the first dream of the fairies, but you know that there were many that you brushed off in your adult life. You would awaken convinced they were the lingering impressions of a cartoon you watched as a small child, or a fairy tale read to you by a librarian or loved one. When the fairies persisted in appearing, you realized this was something much more than a long-lost memory. This was something quite real. And on this night, you feel more ready than you ever have to meet the fairies. With this thought, a portal appears in your room and begins to glow. It pops up in a place where children often believe there is a door to another land. Perhaps a closet, or an opening in the ceiling into an attic. Perhaps it appears beneath the bed, or behind a piece of furniture. But wherever it is, it's exactly where you would expect it to be. The portal glows in a kaleidoscope of colors, and you cannot resist its pull. You rise out of bed and drift across your bedroom to enter the sparkling portal and join the fairies in the woodlands. You float into a new dimension, as light as a feather. You travel through a starry sky over a glistening sea and the beaming lights of a city and then suburbs. The stars sparkle in the velvety purple-black sky, but do not provide enough light to illuminate the woods, nor does the new moon. As you drift over the sacred woods, Aura, the fairy of air, appears with perfect timing beside you. The sheer layers of her skirt glow, the tiny threads made of bioluminescent silk. Her beguiling gray eyes have sparkling flecks of yellow that flash with joy as she takes your hand. She dashes through the night air to give an aerial tour of the secret woods. Her wings are almost invisible, like those of glass-winged butterflies, and like the air she represents. Yet every now and then, the iridescent wings reflect a pearly yellow light. With a sleight of her hand, you see the faint silvery blue outline of the protective dome that surrounds the fairy forest. You fly through the dome and are welcomed by the nocturnal sounds of crickets, tree frogs, and owls. Ramakrishna said, "The breeze of grace is always blowing. Set your sail to catch that breeze." You feel grace when you lock hands with a fairy of air, but it becomes clear she wishes for you to learn how to fly on your own. Aura lets go of your hand, and at first you are afraid of gravity. Its pull is strong, and you find yourself falling fast towards the forest. You reach back for her tiny, graceful hand, and she shakes her head no, as her face mischievously beams in a smile. The fairy pantomimes for you to take in a deep breath during this moment of uncertainty. And you do. You connect with the element of air and take the biggest breath you have taken in years. Your belly fills with so much air, it appears as round as it does after a holiday meal and celebratory night. When you exhale, you feel so free that you begin to laugh. This levity causes you to soar and fly higher through the air with ease. No wings are needed. Aura claps and laughs. You are a quick learner, and it has been so long since she last had a student so eager and open. Aura flies through the canopy of lush branches and makes playful and unexpected turns around cedar and pine trees. The misty air carries their mentholated notes of pine pitch and sweet bark. The smell lingers as the mist creates a cool, nearly invisible layer on your body. It is the first time you realize your attire has changed. You wear breathable cotton fabrics that raise your awareness of the air and night wind. The balmy air caresses your skin and supports you as you follow behind the fairy. Atop the sturdy branches, you discover a village of tiny tree houses connected by rope bridges illuminated by tiny lights. These are the homes of the fairies. The dwellings remind you of imaginative cuckoo clocks and wooden chalets in the German Alps. The homes are much too small for you to occupy, but you imagine exploring them like a hummingbird, fluttering through the towers and levels that rise like a dollhouse that wraps around the trees. Aura's wings stop fluttering, and she gracefully clasps her hands behind her head and floats towards the earth like a falling leaf. You do the same, gracefully drifting down, down, down. You waft between fireflies that light up the night in pops of neon yellow. Aura waves her fingers, and the wind changes direction. The fireflies playfully dance along. She inspires a lightness of being and freedom from heavy tasks and responsibilities. The more joyful you become, the lighter you feel in what becomes a delightfully soothing experience. You and Aura land in tandem on the feathery fronds of a rich green fern that catches you both. You slide down the fern to land on the blue-green mossy carpet of the forest floor. The fireflies light up the silver mist that hovers over the damp earth. They part ways as Hyacinth, the earth fairy, prances between them. Her tiny bare feet bounce off the moss. The layers of silk that make her skirt are assembled like the petals of a wildflower, representing all the abundant colors that the hyacinth comes in. Her wings are a sparkling shade of green, and they retract as she approaches. She gestures for you to follow, and you walk deeper into the woodlands as Aura flies atop the canopy to rejoin the nightbirds. Everything touched by Hyacinth's hand begins to sparkle in fairy dust that illuminates the darkness as you walk among trees. Spotted orange-red mushrooms sprout out of the earth when she passes. Flowers open up in the shadows of white birch trees, and the sweet smell of the earth and exotic aromas of the flora have never been more intoxicating. The widest, oldest tree in the woodlands grows in a clearing that Hyacinth leads you to. Fireflies and glowworms create a magical spectacle around the sacred tree. A pair of gray-brown rabbits dash across the clearing. The chartreuse eyes of an owl perched in the tree glow in the dark as it softly hoots. Hyacinth is a fairy of all earthly pleasures and things. In her presence, you appreciate the bodies of all lives in the forest, of all animals and plants. She is mothering and generous, and her tiny hand graces your back as she pushes you towards the ancient tree. You are drawn to this tree in the same way you are drawn to being secure and rooted in your life. deeply connected with your inner self, you intuit that this tree has healing powers. Your bare feet land on the mossy forest floor in slow motion, and the feeling of gravity is soothingly exaggerated. This time you do not fear gravity. It reminds you that the earth is your home. Your feet balance between the gnarled roots that pop out of the damp soil, and your heart faces the tree. You look up to its highest branches and rich leaves that create a canopy that blocks out the stars. Hyacinth joins you, and with the liveliness of a small child hugging a puppy, she wraps her tiny arms around all the bark they may contain. She rests her cheek against the tree and smiles. She wants you to do the same, but you feel silly at first. You come from a place where tree huggers are mocked. Being silly, feeling good, and connecting with nature all surpass the feelings one experiences when being critical and judgmental. You want to feel good. You want to feel connected. You no longer care what anyone thinks, including yourself. You are a sentient being, and Hyacinth reminds you of this. You embrace the ancient tree and feel her story. You feel rooted and grounded in the earth, while recognizing a sense of adaptability and flexibility. Her limbs and branches always knew when to surrender and give way to the wind. The tree's innate wisdom was to adapt, to reach for the sky while remaining firmly grounded. This balance brings you peace. Hyacinth whispers, "Love each tree, each plant, each animal, and you will feel love. Nurture what nurtures you, my dear, and the cycle will last a lifetime." She presses her forehead against the bark and smiles, saying words to the tree that you do not hear, but even unheard, you understand their intention. You thank the tree. You thank the earth for continuing to thrive, to provide, and to exist, even when you are not paying attention. Hyacinth begins to glow. With her energy restored, a vibrant, sparkling halo forms around her. She parades down a winding path, and the animals of the forest come out to watch. Raccoons and foxes nesting in tree hollows peer out to watch her glittery show. Squirrels and chipmunks watch from high branches. A family of deer rest in a den and walk to the perimeter of the path to see her. A coyote howls in the distance, adding a song to the parade. Dragonflies flutter around you. Their purple, green, and blue iridescent wings hypnotically reflect light in the shadows. The forest offers a beautiful harmony of lightness and darkness. Your most beloved woodland creatures come out to enjoy the blessings of a new moon, which brings promise for new beginnings. As you parade behind Hyacinth, you think of the things you wish to manifest in your life. These yearnings open your heart and bring a smile to your face as you see images of a future you playing out in the dark shadows like shimmering holograms, and movie clips come to life. Hyacinth smiles when she watches your thought bubbles popping up in the forest. She looks at you with maternal love and encourages you to keep dreaming. The parade ends near a series of silvery black crags that rise out of the earth. They are symbols of strength, and you cannot resist brushing your hand against the cool, jagged textures. They remind you of all that is solid within your body, your bones, your resilience, your perseverance, and your inner fortitude. You walk on the crags and feel their support beneath your bare feet. Solid, unbreakable, enduring. Hyacinth brings you to a cave. The distant sounds of a waterfall echo through the dwelling. The cave is abundant with rose, milk, and smoky quartz. The jagged crystals gleam in the light of Hyacinth's wings. You gather a piece of each stone and place them in the pockets of your billowing cotton pants. She leads you through a passage to a smaller cave of amethyst. She flies towards the cave's ceiling and breaks away a small gleaming piece of amethyst that she gives to you. You hold it in your hand and grin, yet again reminded of the diversity of beauty on earth. She tells you the healing stone is meant to protect and inspire. The cave opens out into a lagoon, covered in a milky white mist, more opaque than the mist in the forest. In the center of the pool of turquoise water, you find Azure, the fairy of water. Hyacinth leaves you in Azure's presence. The water fairy skates across the lagoon, creating silky ripples with her tiny dancer's feet. She approaches the rocky bank and extends her hand. You take it and are soon gliding across the water. Azure knows better than any fairy how to go with the flow and how to mimic the fluidity of water. She is supple, delicate, and easy to be around. One could drown in the depths of her crystal blue eyes. They are glassier than most eyes, revealing deep emotions and compassion. Being near her opens you to your emotions in a place that it is safe to feel them all and glide from one to the next, riding the waves of the human experience. And again you are reminded that you are a sentient being. Lauren Isley expressed, "If there is magic on this planet, it is contained in water." Asher leads you to the waterfall, where this message is confirmed. You stand in the lukewarm, shallow waters and let the waterfall wash over you. It massages your body, starting with the crown of your head. Your scalp tingles. The soothing feeling travels down your spine. Azure flies to the top of the waterfall and sprinkles fairy dust. The rushing blue water and white mist are cast in dreamy prismatic hues. Her natural glow illuminates the water and creates rainbows within rainbows. You float on your back in the lagoon to take in the beauty of the falls and night. You feel even lighter in this healing lagoon than you felt taking flight. Asher joins you and guides you to a stream. You float down, down, down the stream, counting the smooth, glistening stones of the stream bed as you travel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You become more and more relaxed with each count. The stream runs through a clearing and you look at the brilliant stars. Willowy blades of grass brush against your skin with a soft caress. Everything about this experience is soft, gentle, fluid, and easy. A soft glow of lights in the distance becomes brighter the more you float downstream. You savor the small rapids and silky water as you get closer to the light. Fallen cherry blossoms float on the water as you drift further and further down. The cabin castle reveals itself in a field of lavender. The warm glow of the cozy dwelling calls to you. You follow Azure and paddle your way towards the shore. You rise out of the water and feel the tepid night air on your skin. It smells of a freshwater stream, lavender, and summer. Emberly, the fire fairy, meets you on the shore. She holds a small torch that reflects amber light on the pasture. You follow her towards the property surrounding the cabin castle. 2 towers connect to the main cabin. In a small replica of a medieval castle made of wood from the forest and stones from the stream bed. Amethyst and quartz embellish the wooden shutters and door, glittering like stars. You can feel the love and hard work the couple put into building this paradise and are so grateful to be here Emberly guides you to a fire pit where a bonfire rages against the darkness of night. You stand close to the marmalade flames and dry off. Water droplets evaporate from your skin, and you savor the warm, dry feeling that replaces them. Emberly is passionate and feisty and flies around the flames as she waves her torch in glee. She reminds you of a monarch butterfly and invokes a sense of passion within you. You feel warm on the inside and on the out, and the sacred fire brings hope, warmth, and light to the dark as it has for thousands of years. It is our sun when the sun does not shine. Thomas Brown said, "Life is a pure flame, and we live by the invisible sun within us." And as you watch the bonfire, you feel your inner invisible sun. You also begin to feel very tired, lulled into a trance state by the hypnotic flickering flames. Emberly waves her torch, and ashes fall in purple-gray dust that puts out the bonfire. Small embers continue to glow and burn. She flies to you with a torch extended. To you, it is no larger than a small candle. She asks you to make a wish and blow it out. And you do. You feel passionate and alive as you make this wish. The fire goes out, and within a second, Emberly brings the torch back to life with a new flame. She says you may always reignite your passion and inner light and wish for more wishes. With a grin, with a conspiratorial grin, she flies off into the night. So very tired and content, you find a stone path that leads to the cottage castle. The stones are lined with amethyst and rose quartz. You climb the steps to the main entrance and open the cathedral-style doors into a foyer. The interior is medieval. Rustic chandeliers hang from wooden beams wrapped in boughs of fresh flowers. The A-frame ceilings are tall and give the room a feeling of loftiness. Skylight windows reveal the majestic sky. Marble water fountains are placed throughout the cabin castle, and the trickling sounds remind you of the magical lagoon. You walk down a long hallway to the east tower, to a luxurious master suite. A fire burns in the stone fireplace, and shadows dance on the wooden walls. Glass doors and floor-to-ceiling windows make you feel like you are sleeping outdoors, even as you are safely tucked within the four walls. White birch trunks with barren branches form the four posters of the bed. Cast in midnight blue light from the night sky, the white branches reach towards the skylights like open hands. You change into cotton pajamas and peel back the covers, ready to lie down and absorb all the wonderful encounters of your visit with the woodland fairies. Your head sinks into plush pillows filled with cedar shavings. The aroma transports you to the woods. You look through the four skylights to see the new moon and stars. One by one, a fairy appears in each skylight. They look over you with love and wish you the sweetest of dreams as you fall asleep. You feel safe in their presence and close your eyes. Your spine aligns with the mattress, and your chest rises as you yawn, sigh, and let go. Bundled in the crisp cotton sheets, you rest beneath a heavy quilt. You let down your guard and drift to sleep. You float across the bridge to your sleeping life and surrender to the possibilities of uplifting discoveries in your dreaming and waking life. The fairies keep watch until you are in a deep, healing sleep. Relaxed in this sublime escape to an enchanted woodland. Cozy and serene as the fire dances against the soot-covered walls of the fireplace. The sounds of the crackling fire and the nocturnal sounds of nature guide you to deeper relaxation. And in this relaxed state comes the fluidity and peace that feels like a healing spell. You revel in this sensation for a moment, and then glide towards the words and sensations that appeal to you right now, slipping away to sleep or enjoying another fairy tale. The Fairy Garden. One of the most vital decisions you can make is the choice of what to believe in and what beliefs to shed when they no longer serve you and your life's purpose. And in this constant ebb and flow of change that comes with experience, empathy, and adventure, happiness and appreciation may grow when you drop the weight of the judgment of yourself and of others. The fluidity of life will help you gravitate towards pleasures and fulfillment that come with an open heart and a mind at peace. Some may choose to believe in fairies and magic and the mystical. Some may fear it, and some may simply be curious. But in the historic village of Marin Crest, there are far more believers than not. Perhaps the presence of fairies centuries ago made it hard for villagers to be anything but believers. Or perhaps the fairies remained because of the many believers. For why would anyone want to stay in a place where no one believed in them? The world is too vast to ever plant roots among poisonous doubts, when you can find rich soil and nurturing energy somewhere else. On this rare night, one fairy will visit each garden based on the needs of the souls who tend to that garden. Part of the fun is trying to guess which fairy will appear. Will it be the fairy of hope, fertility, love, abundance, peace, time, or healing? By midnight, all the fairies convene, and the fairy of sleep scatters the village with fairy dust, so everyone may dream the dreams they are meant to dream. This night is unusually temperate for the peak of summer, and the villagers come out to enjoy the sunset on their porches and in their gardens. An ocean breeze has swept away all the mosquitoes, and the air smells of salt water and charred wood as fire pits become centerpieces for evening gatherings. It is the perfect weather for a visit from the fairies. Most of the village homes are Cape Cod-style cottages, dressed in colorful shutters and cascading ivy, and surrounded by picket fences. The quaint homes are perched atop a tall hill that rolls into Main Street and a marina. The location offers a vista of memorable sunsets, glittering sapphire ocean waves, and the white sails of docked boats. With gabled roofs, the wide symmetrical homes have weathered wooden shingles as facades. Some are painted or stained in hues such as periwinkle, lavender, slate gray, and sandy brown. Aged by time and the salty air, the colors have faded beautifully, like a pair of well-worn, stone-washed jeans. The flowing flora of Marin Crest matches the energy of the sea. As you walk, you feel a sense of fluidity, as the fabric of your clothes rustles like the tails of a kite on the breeze. The sounds of laughter and summer tunes played in backyard gatherings create a soundtrack for your walk. The fiery sun lowers behind the ocean and casts the village in tangerine honeyed light. The sky erupts in streaks of lava orange, metallic pink, ruby, and amethyst. Clouds like cotton candy swirls drift across patches of orange sherbet sky. The vibrant colors in the sky mirror the vibrant tones of shutters and doors on the historic cottages. The simple geometric shapes of the homes become extraordinary in the changing light and from the mystical energy of the village. You walk beneath a willow tree and thread the long willows between your fingers. They are cool and waxy to the touch, and some of them massage her back with the aid of the breeze. Fireflies appear as twilight sets in and flicker in neon yellow pops along the picket fences and freshly mowed lawns. You arrive at your cottage and sigh as your lips form a smile of gratitude and appreciation. A white metal arched trellis rises over the entrance and is covered in roses in your favorite hues. Sunflowers grow taller than you on each side of the trellis. You open the wooden fence door, and the hinges softly squeal in a familiar tone that welcomes you home. Your nervous system regulates with ease whenever you return to the safety of this beloved property. You are free to be every expression of yourself and let go of any concerns from the outside world. The sunflowers, the roses, and the lush hydrangea bushes with silvery purple and Chelsea blue blossoms unapologetically steal the show and thrive at their own pace. Not once do these flowers question their birthright, nor do they slow their growth to please others. They shine and make you want to shine as well. Tonight you carry these ideas with you as you imagine a life where you always accept yourself fully, where you grow at your pace and make choices based on what feels right and natural to you, based on what brings a sense of peace and calm. You walk around the cottage to the backyard. Spanish moss drapes over the branches of deciduous trees that have the green lushness afforded by summer. Sage, rosemary, mint, lemongrass, elderberries, oregano, and lavender grow in a healing garden decorated with small gnome statues made by a local artist. Mason jars filled with solar fairy lights illuminate the yard, and tiny twinkling golden lights cover a trellis that drips with wisteria. Fireflies scatter above the dark green grass. Dewdrops reflect the light like tiny magic balls. The twilight sky is a gradient of dark, soothing blue shades as silvery white stars appear and a crescent moon rises in the sky. A beacon of light reflects on the wispy clouds in rhythmic pulses from the historic lighthouse at the tip of the Marin Crest Peninsula. Everything twinkles on this special night, as if to assure the fairies they are welcome to come spread their light. The light against the darkness of night offers safety and hope. And it takes one source of light to spark the light in others. This idea haunts you in a good way as you imagine shining your beacon of light onto the world when you are at your most authentic. And you think of all the ways that positive stream can encourage others to shine their light as well. The night breeze rustles the leaves and willows of the trees in your yard. Sensing you are home, your beloved pet comes outside to join you, using a pet door in the back. You take in a deep breath through your nose and make out the delicate aromatic notes of herbs, roses, wet grass, and the sweet and salty perfume of the ocean. And while the garden is beautiful enough without the fairies, their arrival will fill an unnoticed void, like a love story in which a character had no idea he or she needed love until their person arrived and brought out the magic in the simple things. You walk to an enclosed bin that stores firewood and grab a lighter, a few pieces of kindling, and 2 logs that you carry to the fire pit in the center of the garden. A talented villager named Fred made the bowl of the fire pit out of hand-hammered copper that glistens like a penny thrown into a fountain. The copper bowl sits on a base of crisscrossing ebony beams. Your pet hops onto a chair as you get the fire started, feeling hopeful the fairies will soon arrive. Tiny sparks become roaring flames, and the dry wood crackles and pops as orange gold sparks take to the sky as another light-filled invitation. You sit in a plush outdoor chair and sink into the cushions. You inhale the night air and look around the garden. It becomes mystical at night. The darkness casts the hyacinths, lilies, and roses in a purple hue, while the twinkling lights add a gauzy golden glow. For a moment, the village becomes still. The music stops and conversations and laughter find a lull. The faint sounds of the ocean can be heard as a chorus of voices join them with a soft melody. It is the song of the fairies. You look to the sky and watch them fly overhead in a performative sweep through the village as they make their presence known. The fairies' glowing hues are otherworldly, shimmering and iridescent jewel tones that are familiar and yet unique at the same time. You sit patiently and wait for the fairy to arrive. Your pet stirs, suddenly awakened from a brief slumber, so eager that their fur stands on its ends. A fairy swoops down from the night sky, glowing in an ever-changing gradient of colors, from the soft blues of a morning sky to the rich pinks, oranges, and reds of sunset. She introduces herself as the Fairy of Time. The lights in the garden seem to glow brighter, and the fairy takes a moment to explore your labor of love and smell the sweet nectars of the flowers. Your pet hops down from the chair and follows closely behind her. She turns and laughs at your furry companion, and then blows a handful of prismatic dust that lands on their fur. Your pet spins around eagerly and then becomes calm and complacent. The Fairy of Time plucks a small honeysuckle blossom and places it behind her ear before flying back to meet you. Her voice is hypnotic and comforting, and familiar in some way, as if she has visited you before in a dream or in a different life. I come to visit you on this night because you seem to be grieving lost time. The world has been very different for you in recent years, but you must understand that not a moment was lost. There is still time for you to do all you wish to do. She flies around you, and the sweet, fruity aroma with a hint of citrus emanates from the honeysuckle. You inhale deeply and savor the fragrance. Like the fairy, the blossom is small yet powerful. The fairy waves her tiny hand before the fire. The translucent tangerine gold flames are the backdrop for a memory that plays upon them like a drive-in movie projected on a screen. You see yourself younger, during a happy time when you felt free. You were confident in this moment, certain that you could tackle anything. You see yourself captured in this memory that represents all that you deeply love most about yourself. Not the things you were told to love or anything superficial, but the things that resonate deeply and cause your heart to stir and your lips to smile. The fairy says, the body does not know time. Something that happened years ago may be as fresh to you as something that happened today. Your body may feel memories intensely and unexpectedly, and these memories are awakened by smells, tastes, music, art, and things you do not anticipate. When it happens, let go of the unpleasant feelings and choose to ride the memories that bring you joy, because all of them exist within you, stored in the libraries of your cells and mind. You take in a deep breath, and rather than think about what she says, you feel it in your body. The gentle fluidity of the moment brings waves of beautiful sensations that brought you the most joy in this life. The Fairy of Time continues. Right now, you are creating your future. Every thought and action you embrace in the present will define where you go. A flame becomes a golden mirror that reflects the fairy, you, and your pet at this moment. It overlaps the memory flames that continue to flicker and lick the night air. sparks fly towards the starry sky. Now memory capsules that reveal your most beloved moments. You may be surprised by how simple these pleasures are, rife with tactile sensations, flavors, smells, feelings, and important relationships that only you have experienced this way. The fairy flies behind you, and her tiny pink bow-shaped lips come close to your ear. She breathes and it causes goosebumps to form on your skin as electric energy travels down your spine and makes you feel alive. She whispers, "Imagine the world as you would like to see it. Dream up the things you hope to have in your life. There are no limits. This is your life, and you get to choose." And in a dreamy state, the things you desire appear on a flame in the fire pit. You see yourself happy, healthy, and thriving. You are living life on your terms. You see the bigger picture and how all the challenges and moments of redirection led you to what you ultimately needed. The fairy takes your hand and asks you to stand in the firelight and the lustrous glow of the crescent moon. She hovers over the crown of your head and showers you with fairy dust. But like the sparks of the fire, when you inspect the glittering dust, you realize each fragment is a miniature glowing clock set to a different time. Your body is radiant and you feel a sense of peace, existing within this moment that encapsulates all of time. The fairy of time instructs you to close your eyes and cast your wishes for the things you seek. They may be tangible items, like a new home, a new garment, a new vehicle, or a new toy. Or they may be experiences, relationships, adventures, or trips. They may be many things. There is no limit, for this is your wish to encompass all that you want to experience going forward. You take in a deep breath and sigh, feeling more relaxed and hopeful than you have felt in a long time. You feel the fairy's warm and tiny hand on your shoulder as her fluttering wings brush against your ear and cheek. She whispers, "Always remember, every moment in time gives you the chance to make a new choice towards the life you deserve and the person you wish to be. Be kind to yourself, my dear." She then takes off towards the sky, as all the fairies do, and you are left in the firelight that burns into silvery magenta embers. Tiredness takes hold, and your body feels as if you have spent the day swimming and floating in the ocean. Your muscles are soft and the coolness of the night air hits as the last embers of the fire go dark. You rise and walk through the grass to the back door of your cottage. Your pet follows and you open the creaking door into the kitchen. You remove your shoes and place them on a doormat. The shiny marine blue tiles of the kitchen floor feel cool against your bare feet. The soles of your feet float above the floor with each step. You glide through the dry air that smells sweetly of old books, pine, and fresh flowers in a crystal vase on the dining room table. You walk through the shadows and then the light from street lamps and the crescent moon that pour through the symmetrical windows in the living room. You ascend the stairs to the second floor with your pet so close on your heels that their soft fur brushes against your Achilles tendons and slightly tickles. With each step, you become more and more tired, counting as you go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You arrive at the landing and walk down a long, narrow hallway to your bedroom. Black and white photos in shiny silver frames line the wall, capturing moments of your life that you most cherish. You open the door into your cozy bedroom and walk to the window as your pet settles in a fluffy bed beneath it. You reach down to wish your beloved animal good night and offer one last pet. As you stand and peer out the window, you see the glittering ocean in the distance. You then look at the garden below as a small trail of gray smoke rises out of the fire pit. You look at the sky to see the sleep fairy showering the village in soporific fairy dust. It coats the garden, the neighboring houses, and the entire village until it shimmers like the surface of the moon. The words "thank you" come out of your mouth, an inaudible chorus of gratitude that comes spontaneously from everyone in the village of Marin Crest. You walk towards an antique dresser and pull out a heavy drawer to find your bedclothes. They smell of lavender from satchels of dried flowers placed in each drawer. You change into the soft, lightweight garments and then walk towards your bed. You peel back the heavy patchwork quilt and crisp sheet and climb atop the downy mattress. Your body races against the sleepy feeling that takes over fast to settle into the bed. Your head is heavy and your arms and legs legs and torso sink into the comforting mattress that contours to your body. You close your eyes and drift as if floating through time, as if floating on the waves of the sea. As you float towards the pleasant moments and wonderful choices that you will encounter with a new day. But for now, all you need to do is surrender to sleep as you let go, embracing the night and all the wonders of the sanctuary of your mind, finding bliss, finding rest, finding peace, finding sleep. It's time to dream away.